This episode of Access to the Arts is being made possible through the support of First Bank Richmond, with 8 locations serving Wayne County. First Bank Richmond and you, doing great things together. 101 painting exhibit, a new executive director, and the tents going up in Hagerstown. A lot to cover. I'm Eric, host of Access to the Arts. Let's find out what's going on in Wayne County. Welcome to Access to the Arts. I'm Eric Marsh, and I'm glad that you're with us as we invade, as we do sometimes, the Richmond Art Museum. You've got an exhibit. We're with Shawn Dingwerth. Shawn, you've got an exhibit here of 101 paintings, yes. I think it is, from Dan Woodson, doing some landscapes. Now, I had a chance to meet him last year because he was painting during the Secret Garden tour, actually right along a real nice little waterway. It was interesting to spend some time with him. Tell us a little bit about him and this exhibit.
Great. So we do have 101 paintings by Dan Woodson. Dan is really the premier Indiana landscape painter. This is his first solo museum show, so we were really honored to be able to offer that to him.
Nice.
He really is considered the father of the Indiana plein air painters movement. He's the one that started it. Okay. He was integral in the Painting Indiana project where they painted all 92 counties. And so Dan worked for 2 years to get ready for this exhibition. I had told him to paint 50 paintings, and he painted 101. So I would say this is probably the largest exhibition we've had of a single artist, at least in my 20 years.
Nice.
But it's well worth seeing. There are some Wayne County scenes, popular scenes of Brown County, other beautiful areas around Indiana. And the paintings are reasonably priced. They're for sale, so if you're interested, but I definitely encourage people to come and see his work. 101
paintings, so we're covering multiple gallery rooms here.
Yeah, so we ended up with 3 of the 4 galleries and a hallway.
Okay.
So, Dan paints on a large scale, and I think people will get to see that. So we call many of these paintings exhibition size. And so because of that, it just took a lot more space.
Plein air painters, tell us what does that mean?
Yeah, so that really is just a fancy French word for painting outdoors.
Okay.
So many of these paintings are studio paintings, but Dan started them outdoors. So he's capturing the kind of light he wants to show, that particular scene, or that particular season. So that's what the plein air means, it's just painting outdoors.
Okay, and that leads into our next conversation. Right. There have been a couple of times over the last couple of years that I've noticed a large number of painters painting around the area. That's going to be happening again.
That's right. So we alternate with WCTV on their paint out. So every other year we host plein air artists from both Indiana and Ohio. This will be July 13th. They come very early in the morning from all over the state, both Indiana and Ohio. Typically, we have at least 100 artists.
Wow.
They will paint views of Richmond all day. They come back to the museum, and then the public is invited to come and see what they've painted. And because we don't charge a commission, the works are very reasonable. So it's a great opportunity for our residents to acquire scenes of Richmond.
And we're able to go if we can find one of them painting.
Yes.
We can sit, we can watch them work.
Yeah, they're wonderful about sharing and talking with people. And so throughout that day, people will see them. I know a lot of them like to go down to the depot area. Some of them like to paint architectural scenes. There'll be some probably at the park, at Hayes Arboretum.
Sure.
They love our green spaces. The artists love coming to Richmond because it's such diverse subject matter for them to paint. And plus it's such a hospitable community.
I had a chance to spend some time recently in the Bloomington area, and out in their downtown area, they had an event going on for half a day, and it was all things that were made by people, handmade items.
Right.
One of the things that you've got that happens every fall that people really enjoy is Pottery Palooza.
Yeah.
Before we get out of here, we want to talk about that event because that is one that is very, very popular.
Yeah, it's one of our most popular events, continues to grow. So Pottery Palooza will actually be September 8th. That's a Saturday. And we will have at least 25 potters, from Indiana, Ohio. Great event, so get it on your calendar.
Nice. Shawn, thanks for hosting us.
Thank you
for doing this. We're looking forward to. How long is Dan Woodson's exhibit?
Great question. It's up through July 20th.
All right, so come by and definitely check it out. Some really great artwork. Welcome back to Access to the Arts. We have moved galleries. We're in the Paul and Pat Lingle Gallery here at the Richmond Art Museum, and we have a painter, a photographer with us, Vicki Vardaman. Vicki,
Hi.
Did I get that right?
You did.
Oh, great. Tell us what you do.
Well, I take a lot of photographs. I've been taking photographs my whole life, but since digital came out, it's become a lot more easier.
Okay.
And also the phones today take excellent pictures, and you can be discreet with them.
It sounds like you're a sneaky photographer.
I do like to take street photography of people, and I don't always ask, and they don't always know it. But I like to get people in situations, just everyday things, but I always look for the composition, and I do edit my photos.
Okay. How do you handle that? If you take a picture of someone on the street that you're going to put in an exhibit, do you have to go back and ask them for permission to use it?
It depends. I don't, because usually a lot of my pictures like that are taken in New York City or in Seattle, and I will never see those people. They'll never know. So it is kind of sneaky, but it's fun.
Okay. For a job, what is it that you do? You work in Randolph County.
I do. I'm the executive director of the Art Association of Randolph County.
Okay.
And it's just a small group. We started in the 50s. In the early 80s, they bought a train depot in Union City, and that's our home base.
Nice. What happens there? How often do you...
We have shows constantly up. We do events monthly. We do a lot of children's programming. Just about everything. We do workshops.
Okay. If someone wants some information on you all, website, Facebook, what do you use?
We actually have a website at www.artsdepot.org.
Artsdepot.org.
And then I have a presence on Facebook, and then we have a Instagram under Arts Depot.
Okay.
So there are a lot of pictures on those too.
All right. One of the reasons we're talking to you is the fact that you actually have an exhibit up right now at Reid Health.
I do.
Tell us a little bit about that. People, places, and things.
Well, it's people in reference to just ordinary random shots of people that I have, a couple of those. The places are different places I like to explore. I really like architecture, and I'm really into abandoned buildings. I like to go inside maybe an old house and watch how the light comes in through the window, things like that.
Okay.
I have a series that I've taken of the Spartanburg School, which burnt in 2012, and over the last few years it has just crumbled. So I have an ongoing series of that place, of all the different seasons, all the different stages of deterioration, that kind of thing. There is one of the Spartanburg pictures in the show.
Do you use mostly black and white when you're doing this? Because I've seen a lot of abandoned buildings.
Yeah.
They seem to really show in that.
I do both.
Okay.
It just depends. I'm looking more for the light, so if it's a really contrasting picture, I will use black and white, and a lot of with the people pictures, I do like to use black and white too.
If somebody is heading toward Reid, they want to see your show, where is it and how long is it up?
It's on the second floor in the gallery there, and it's up through the end of July.
Okay. We're looking forward to seeing it, and hopefully we can find out a little bit more. We'll come up to Randolph County and check out what you're doing there.
Please do.
Vicki, thanks for the time.
Thank you.
No, we are not in Indiana.
Welcome to Santo Domingo, the capital city of the Dominican Republic, and the place where one Indiana jazz professor is paying it forward to his homeland. A place where Pavel just wants students to have the same opportunities that he did.
You know, it's just about opening opportunities for those students that won't have an opportunity to learn music.
The way the world is shrinking, we are neighbors to many people. We need to get along with our neighbors, but more importantly, it takes a village. Well, the village is worldwide now.
This is a foundation, a university which is a foundation to support the education and all the students who want to apply for architecture, medicine, and now music.
We are in the Dominican Republic. I was born here, yeah. I was born here, you know, and loved music at an early age.
Pavel is considered a rock star down here.
I didn't think I was going to have a career in music because at that point here, it was nothing. I was lucky enough to get a scholarship to go to the US and, you know, finish my degrees there. You don't do anything alone, so you have always a lot of people helping along the way. And I'm a living proof of that before and now.
Yes, I'm very excited because I love United States and I love the American people.
So how did you learn English? Speak, reading, writing? Well, you can speak English.
Try to find those students that want to do something. I think we're just building a platform here for those students that don't have opportunities. Seeing what really means, you know, for them, like to follow a dream that they might, you know, they had, and they now they feel like it's possible to do it.
Welcome back to Access to the Arts. We're in one of the galleries where Dan Whitson's exhibit is, and we'll move around from galleries so that you can hopefully see some of his work as we go through. But we've got Amy Noe Dudas here with us. Amy, how are you?
Hi, Eric. I'm great. How are you?
Thanks for taking some time with us. Now, we have talked to you in DIVA on a couple of different times, normally about your improv shows. Those are still going well.
They are. They're going great. We just had one Friday night, and it was a hit.
Okay. But the one thing that you mentioned very early on in one of our first conversations was that you had plans to use that building.
Right.
You've developed some of those plans.
Right.
Tell us what you're thinking about.
Okay, well, we have finally gotten some final blueprint drawings from Miles Richmond to proceed with a total renovation project of the building, and in particularly it's a build out for DIVA itself. So the ground floor will be expanded to about double, and we will install an elevator in order that the entire building can be usable and sustainable into perpetuity. And the third floor will then be transformed into a performing arts space that will be available for performing arts, theater, dance, music, whatever. The ground floor would then be more of an art gallery, reception, even black box theater to some extent. So that way we would essentially quadruple, potentially quintuple the amount of space available for DIVA's use. So
some of that, the renderings that I've seen look really good.
I know.
First of all, the one thing I have to ask you, how difficult was it to carve out a space to put an elevator in a building that didn't have one?
Well, it's interesting because while the ground floor goes all the way back to the alley, the second and third floors actually stop about 3/4 of the way into the building footprint.
Okay.
So while the elevator will be inside the building, there will be a shaft on the first floor and into the basement. It actually is going to tack onto the outside of the building for the second and third and fourth floors. There's actually kind of a fourth floor in there.
That third floor almost looks like it will open out to a roof area or something. Is that correct?
Right. That's one of our plans. We would love to include a rooftop deck in our renovations, and that would be used for receptions or for small chamber concerts, or maybe even a rooftop concert, you know, a la the Beatles in 1969 at Apple Studios, where, you know, because it overlooks Sailor Street and Elstro Park.
Right.
So it's a great place where we might have a festival and music playing on the rooftop deck to people down below. But that's part of the plans that we have.
How has that whole arts transition that's taking place a little bit downtown worked out?
Oh, it's worked out really well. We're getting a lot of good feedback, and we're hoping that this will continue the trend of bringing development downtown and of creating that mixed-use development, what is now seen as so important for drawing redevelopment in downtown areas, especially, you know, in rural communities.
Part of the way you want to do this is to get some redevelopment funds. You're scheduled to go before them, their July meeting?
That's right. Their July meeting is when we'll be in front of the Development Commission.
Okay, TIF funds that will be used, and it's in that area, so it should be easy to get?
Right. Well, I don't know about that. It's a pretty ambitious project. We're hoping to get, you know, at least a start on the project so that we can get moving and then potentially create some other resources for funding. But the idea is that, you know, it's good for economic development. It's good for the community. It's a nonprofit that's designed to be used by anyone. So we feel that it really falls into the parameters of the use of those TIF funds. So, you know, we hope that that's heard and appreciated.
Well, we will follow your work with the Redevelopment Commission, and obviously we'll be coming in and out hopefully as you get some of this work done. Really looking forward to it.
We're really excited.
Thanks for the time today.
All right, thank you.
Welcome back to Access to the Arts. We're still filming today at the Richmond Art Museum. Glad that they're willing to have us, and we have an honor here, the first executive director of Richmond Civic Theater. How does that title work for you?
It feels a little overwhelming, but mostly I'm just excited to be able to support the theater and be a part of that family again.
Nice. Whitney Reeves is our guest right now on Access to the Arts. Thanks for spending some time with us today.
Thank you for having me.
What made you decide, okay, before I go that, let's get some of your history. Who are you? How long have you been around Richmond, Wayne County? Do you have a history with Richmond Civic Theater?
Sure.
Give us the stuff.
So I was born and raised in Richmond, Indiana, and I was in my first play at Richmond Civic Theater when I was 5 years old.
Wow.
I continued to act in that theater until I was about 18, and then took off and lived in DC for a little while, went to college, started a family, and then started pursuing a master's degree in nonprofit management and philanthropic studies at the Lilly School of Philanthropy through IUPUI. And I am almost completed with that master's. I'll be done in August.
Okay.
And this job came up. So it kind of felt a little bit like kismet that my essentially home away from home growing up they started offering this executive director's position. So it worked out really nicely, and I could not be happier.
Do you know approximately how many shows that you did at Richmond Civic Theater? You asked that to some people, and they started rattling them through.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably the number of plays I acted in was maybe 20 to 25.
Okay.
But then there's always costumes and assistant directing and backstage. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. So.
What part of it did you like most? Kind of the backstage, or are you a performer at heart?
I'm a performer through and through. If I'm not performing, though, I really do love helping backstage. That's always really fun to help the actors, and
Nice. After 79 years, Civic Theater has decided to have an executive director. What does that mean for you, and what do you think you bring to that position?
Yeah, so it's definitely a transition for the theater, and it's a transition for the culture of the theater, which, I mean, it's been all volunteer run for so long.
Yeah.
They've always had an office manager, where Stage One has always had someone, but to have someone to really just pull everything together, I think I'm excited about that opportunity, and I think a lot of the volunteers are as well. I know the greater arts community is excited to have that point person, to have someone they know, this is who we need to go to talk to about XYZ.
Right.
So I see my place in that as sort of just helping to organize some things that, when it goes from volunteer to volunteer, maybe it gets lost in the shuffle, and mostly just having that point person, having the face of the theater, having someone that people know they can go to. So I'm really looking forward to those opportunities, and being welcomed by all the volunteers has been so wonderful. One of the volunteers who's been down there for years and years gave me a big hug and said, "Welcome home," and that just about made me cry.
Nice.
So it was really nice, yeah.
So as executive director, do you think you'll be able to carve out a little bit of time to do a show periodically? To be part of one?
So I'm actually already thinking about one. This one is Ripcord, and it actually auditions in July, so July 8th and 9th. Ripcord will be auditioning. It's through Visionary Productions.
Oh, one of the Visionary Productions, okay,
yes.
Nice.
And my stepmom, who's also acted quite a bit down at that theater, her and I are talking about auditioning together, so it means maybe living at the theater a little bit, but it'll be good.
You don't look like that's going to be a hardship for you.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about the upcoming season for Richmond Civic Theater. We haven't heard a lot about it. I know last year was like the director's cut. Is there a theme for this year?
Yes, so the theme this year is The Time of Our Lives, and it is a really, really fun season. I think it's a really good family-oriented season. So the main stage, we're doing Mamma Mia and Calendar Girls and Newsies, Christmas Carol. So there's a bunch of shows there that are just really fun for the family. And then in
Mamma Mia should have them dancing in their seats.
Yes, and that's the first one. So we've already auditioned for that. We have our cast set for that. I'm really excited to see what they're going to produce for us. It's going to be really great.
What's your opening weekend on that one?
That one is August 9th, 10th, and 11th.
Okay.
It's the Friday, Saturday, Sunday for that one. The Sunday will be a matinee. The other one's regular showtime. That's directed by Ruth Ann Munger. She's done a lot down at the theater for us, and she's just a really fun director and really good with these big, lively shows. So we're excited about that one. Okay. Stage 1 is doing some really fun stuff this season. They're doing Jungle Book and a show called Emma, which takes contemporary pop music from Katy Perry, Taylor Swift, and incorporates it into sort of young adolescent life and what that looks like for a lot of young teenagers. So it's really fun, heavy in the choreography. It'll be really great. And then Visionary is doing Ripcord and 26 Pebbles. So Ripcord is the one I just mentioned. It's kind of a farce about two older women living in a nursing home together, and one is really cranky and one is really good-hearted and fun. And then 26 Pebbles is about the tragedy at Sandy Hook. So that one will definitely be a tug on the heartstrings, definitely a tearjerker, hard one, but really important show to watch. So it's just a great season.
You mentioned Ripcord is auditioning in July.
Yep.
You've already got your cast for Mamma Mia. What's the first show coming up that people have a chance still to audition for?
Ripcord would be that one.
What's the next one after that that would be a main stage?
The next one auditioning is Calendar Girls, and that's August 11th and 12th. Becky Jewison is the director there. So again, she's someone that's just done a lot down at the theater over the years, and she's a wonderful director. She was the second director that I acted under, and so yeah, we've got a long history there too.
You really are home.
I really am home.
Whitney Reeves, the executive director of Richmond Civic Theater. Thank you very much for spending some time with us.
Thank you, Eric. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Welcome back to Access to the Arts. We've moved gallery positions and added a new guest under the big top, under the tent. Nettle Creek Players. How is it having the tent back in Hagerstown?
Oh, it's wonderful. As you know, it was a staple for generations in Hagerstown and in Wayne County, and it went away for a while, but we've been back now for almost 5 years. At the end of this season, we'll be coming into our 5th year of renewed existence, and people are finding us again and discovering the nostalgia and the warmth and the family opportunity to come together and see professional musical theater under a big top in this small, quaint little Hoosier community, and it's one of those only in Indiana experiences.
Cool.
Now, tent theaters, of course, were around for back since the 1920s and 30s. Most of them are gone now. We're one of only 3 summer tent theaters left in the country.
Oh my goodness. Darrin Murrell, Artistic Director of Nettle Creek Players. Thanks for being here with us today.
Oh, thank you.
Let's start with a show that you all have coming up that's actually a benefit for Nettle Creek Players as well as Richmond Civic Theater.
We're very excited. One of our most distinguished alums, Ron Keaton, he performed in the inaugural season of Nettle Creek Players way back in the early 1970s. performed for years, and he's gone on to have a career off Broadway, touring around the world as a performer. And he's got a one-man show called Churchill, based on the life of Winston Churchill. He's performed it off Broadway and up in Chicago where he lives. He'll be doing a one-night only performance of that show at Richmond Civic Theater as a benefit for both Richmond Civic and Nettle Creek Players on Saturday, June the 29th.
People want tickets, they go to your website?
They can go to nettlecreekplayers.com, and there you'll also find information about all of the summer shows coming up.
And the summer shows start in July?
Yes, July 5th is our opening night, and we run for 4 weekends, July 5th through July the 28th. Our big Broadway musical this summer is Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. It's a favorite of families, and again, a generational thing, one of Andrew Lloyd Webber's and Broadway's biggest, longest running hits. It's a spectacular family show, great for church groups as well. Obviously tells the story of Joseph and Jacob and the sons of Israel, and Jacob's coat of many colors that he gifts to Joseph, and then all of the travails that follow. We're also doing a musical review of George Gershwin and Ira Gershwin, their music, as well as their contemporaries, people like Harold Arlen and Jerome Kern and Hoagie Carmichael and Cole Porter, some of our Indiana natives. So that'll be some beautiful music on Sunday afternoons. We also do a family theater performance. This year we're doing Rumpelstiltskin, or the Fairy's Secret Name. That plays on Saturday afternoons at 11 o'clock for the kids.
Where are some of your players from?
They come from all over the country. We recruit professional actors, many of them newly out of university programs, and they come here. This is sometimes their first professional experience. Some of them are very seasoned, have been in the business for years and years. We supplement that core company of professionals with local and regional talent. We've got some wonderful performers this year from Richmond, from Muncie, from around the Hagerstown area. One woman in particular, Katie Friedel Carfield, she graduated from Ball State, went on to have a career in New York and played theme parks all over the country. She's recently moved back to the area. Her husband's an anesthesiologist here in Richmond. They've settled back here to have their family, and this is an opportunity for her to bring some of her great professional experience to our stage.
Okay. Thank you very much for spending time and for following the vest dress code. You're one of the few people to pull that off.
Thank you so much, Aaron.
Darrin, thank you. I want to thank all my guests for being part of this month's Access to the Arts. There's a lot to see and do this time of year. As we head out, we'll leave you with some ideas, some other things you can do as you access the arts in Wayne County. This episode of Access to the Arts is being made possible through the support of First Bank Richmond, with 8 locations serving Wayne County. First Bank Richmond and you, doing great things together.